Huh? What'd you think? Now, as far as what's going on, I know you can't see like what's happening over there on that side, which is where the Grammarly is on my side, but this is just more so what I can see. Just so that way it kind of limits down things and tries to make it a little more interesting for you guys. Over on this side, this is where the chat is going to be, so you can see it, and I can see it, and everybody can see it, as well as those who are on YouTube. Speaking of which, if you're watching this on YouTube, hello! I hope you're at least mildly entertained by this, and why don't you come on by on Wednesdays at around 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is where I do these streams. Hopefully you can be entertained live. Oh, and I forgot to edit this over here. There we go! So now we're actually doing the thing. So, to recap what has happened so far. Also, so you guys know, I will not have any music live on the chat here, or live in the stream here. However, I am going to be listening to some music, and this is the particular video in the chat right there that I am listening to. If you want to, you can go and check it out and listen along with me. I am currently at the 13-ish minute mark in that particular video. And it's also part of a playlist of music that I like to listen to while I'm writing or reading or drawing or whatever. And most of it has no words, but it's just emotional music. It's at least what it's called. And the particular video that I am watching or listening to is called, as soon as I can figure out where I'm listening to it from, it's called 2 Hours of Epic Music Mix by Pandora Journey. So you can go give it a check it out and listen along if you so desire. Now, on to the actual chapter, trying to actually get, now that I got all that away. This particular chapter is a pretty much almost a direct continuation of chapter 23. At the end of which we finally defeated Rex. We got a hold of the Null Crystal, and we found out exactly what was happening with the Oblivion Gauntlet, and we found out that there are just a bunch of cannons all over Osiria called Beyond the Sky. And we also found out that something's happening with Mir. And we also got Jenny and Olsen finally broke it off. So, we will continue from there. And here we go. Now, another thing I should mention, for those of you who don't know, Yvonne in the game is is considered one of the heroic classes. If you want to check out that storyline, you can check it over my YouTube. But Yvonne in the game, he is a kid that has inherited the pact from his predecessor named Freud and the Onyx King Afrin. So it was Yvonne and Mir. Both of them have continued to pick up the pact, and they grow together in power. Here, I have kept Yvonne, but Mir is a dragoness and is able to take on a human form and has fallen in love with Yvonne. However, that in this chapter may be in jeopardy, so let's continue. All right. All right. Yvonne walked around in a white expanse, looking for something, but he didn't know what he was after until a familiar voice called him. Master, Master, Master. It sounded desperate and in pain. That's odd. I should know that voice, but he thought about it as the voice became more desperate. Wait, that's... As he turned around, what he saw made his heart freeze. Mir, in her human form, was being devoured by a dragon-like creature, its jaw tearing into her flesh as she struggled to crawl away. As Yvonne ran and reached for her, he woke with a start, feeling dread wash over him when he found Mir missing. Okay, so this is a dream. So what we're going to do... Okay, so this is a thought with an italic, so we're going to reverse it. Normally I do italic when somebody's thinking, but yeah. Okay. Mir? Where are you? He called, throwing off the covers. Okay, I see. He was about to go outside. He was about to... Whoops. Nope, we don't want to see that. Sorry. Okay, so that should help a little bit better. Doot. There we go. He was about to look for her when she walked in with a basket of fruit in her hands. Oh, Master, you're finally up. Are you all right? You look pale. So, the way I imagine Mir's voice going in this particular version, probably kind of one of those, like, what you would consider, like, kind of a gruff girl. Or, probably for a recent example, maybe like Tomo's voice from Tomo-chan is a Girl, I guess. I think that's what it's called. That's kind of how I imagine Mir sounding. At least this version of Mir. Oh, I should probably take these off, because I'm not going to be able to hear anything. All right. She asked sweetly, walking to the fire pit. She put a few logs and cast a fire spell under a small plate of iron used for cooking. Yvonne was puzzled. Okay, so what's... Ah, okay, I see. Okay, I see. Maybe this? Yvonne was puzzled. Mir usually left the cooking to him, mostly because she didn't know how to cook human food too well. So why was she doing it now? If you'll give me just a minute, I'll have something prepared for you, she called with a sweet tone. Yeah, see, like, I can't do my female voices too well, so just kind of bear with it. Oh, in a sweet tone, okay. Oh, why do I have my hand over there? Okay. All right. So what's... Okay, so sweetly, okay. Kind of narrowing it down. So we're going to get rid of this one, because we actually want that to be there. Okay, she called sweetly, fighting her way through the intricacies of human cooking. It didn't take long before Mir presented Yvonne with a plate of something. A plate of mush was the best way he could describe it. Let me actually do... No. This. Okay. That's probably a little better. It looks interesting, Mir. Probably put the comma here. What is it? He asked tentatively. Oh, it's apple cinnamon pancakes. Yvonne's stomach jumped into his throat and his heart. Into his throat. And his heart sank. But he dug his spoon into the half-cooked goo. Surprisingly, it tasted good, commenting on it as he wolfed down the rest. He was about to get up and put put the plate in the wash tub when Mir stopped him and did it herself. She then came back and sat down next to Yvonne, leaning up against him and putting her arms around his, reveling in the small warmth he gave off. Okay. Washed. Okay. She returned. Okay. Reveling in the slight warmth he gave off. Okay. Mir, what's wrong? You're acting very different than you usually do. Mir opened her eyes as she hugged Yvonne's arm even tighter. I won't be here for much longer. I have to make the best memories that I can while I still... Mir clamped down on Yvonne's arm, gritting her teeth and groaning in pain, looking up at him with a loving yet fearful look in her eyes. Mir, what's wrong? When the wave passed, Mir tried to hold back her tears, but the look in her master's eyes broke her will. She threw herself at him, pushing him down on the cot and pressing her body to his, holding him tight. Master, I would have loved to spend all my days with you, but the time is coming that I... Her words were cut short as she arched her back, screaming out in pain before falling beside him, panting while gripping Yvonne's arms. Okay, let's see. Searing pain cut her words short. There we go. Her grip was so tight that Yvonne was worried she would simply pinch his arm in half as he gaped in pain. When her grip finally released, he pulled his arm from her hand. Mir, what's wrong? Tell me. Yvonne then cut his question short when he saw a glow from beneath her clothes. Saw a glow on her back from beneath her clothes. Slowly, he pulled away the dress, and saw the symbol covering her back, making his eyes... Oh, okay, I see what's going on here. Okay. Okay. Okay, I see. All right, that makes better sense. Grendel! Grendel! He called, propping Mir up Mir in his arm while she panted for breath. Master, Mir, don't speak. We'll get you some help. Grendel, where are you? Soon, Mir was lying under a warming lamp with an IV and a biomonitor clicking off readings. And a biomonitor that Dr. Kim monitored, while with Grendel, Ito, and Kumo. Okay. Soon, Mir was lying under a warming lamp with an IV and a biomonitor that Kim watched. Eagerly? No, closely. Okay. That should make better sense. Soon, Mir was lying under a warming lamp with an IV and biomonitor that Dr. Kim watched closely with Grendel, Ito, and Kumo. Every once in a while, the glow on her back would return, making her curl into a ball until a pump with a unique blend of herbs and painkillers dulled the relieved her turmoil. Of course I spelled it wrong. Because we are writers. Dun 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 dun. Last thing I need is a copyright strike on this. Okay, so painkillers. Okay, I see. Yvonne waited outside impatiently, pacing beside the machines where Dr. Kim analyzed a sample of Mir's blood. He wanted to know just as much as Yvonne. He wanted to know. Let's see. What about the doctor? The doctor wanted to know just as much as Yvonne what was causing these sudden surges of pain and the giant glowing symbol on her back. From everything I could pull. Based on... Okay, there we go. That's a little better. Based on everything that I could pull from the Omega Sector mainframe, she looks to be... Okay. Okay. Based on everything I could pull from the Omega Sector mainframe, she's in perfect health. Okay. However... However, the tests I've been using are designed for humans, not dragons. Yvonne bit on his thumbnail, and turned away, thinking through everything he'd learned in his young life as a mage. I believe I know what's wrong, a soothing voice said as Saya, the Nine Spirits dragon, descended into town and lowered her head to look through the window, watching as Mir panted after a wave of pain racked her body. Helen walked up to them after she had sensed... I can talk. Helen walked up to them after she had sensed Saya flying overhead and followed her. What is wrong? Because at least I hope it's been coming through, is that Helen's speech pattern is slowly changing. Okay. So, let me do a thing on my side. Okay. What is wrong? She asked, as soon as she could see the distraught looks on everyone's faces. Troubled, okay. Lady Helen. It's good to see you again, at least outside. Let's see. Let's see if we can simplify that. My prison. There we go. Yeah, because if you remember right, we first meet Saya in previous chapter. I think it was 21 or 22. I can't remember exactly which one it was. Where the Guardians had been trapped and sent to Ledron, which was a kind of a love letter for the cult classic Never-Ending Story. Sorry, I was checking a thing on my side. Okay. Lady Helen, it's good to see you again. At least outside my prison, Saya said, forcing a smile and then turning... Forcing a sad smile. Okay, let's just get rid of all of that. It's Mia. She's been having fits of... Okay. Fits of pain have been plaguing her all morning. Okay. Turning. No, not tutting. Turning back to Mir. It's Mir. Fits of pain have been plaguing her all morning, Saya said. Or it's Mir. Fits of pain have been plaguing her all morning. Okay. As Yvonne cut in. There we go. It's Mir. Fits of pain have been plaguing her all morning. Saya said she might know what's wrong, but she hasn't said what, Yvonne quickly answered. Okay. Saya lowered her... Saya... Lowered her eyes and let out a mournful sigh. There we go. It's not that I don't know, young Yvonne. I'm not sure you want to know what is... I'm not sure you want to know what is plaguing your beloved Mir, Saya commented softly. Yvonne walked up to Saya and pulled on her fur, turning her massive head to him with fire in his eyes. Tell me, Saya, what's wrong with her? He demanded, sounding as if his voice were about to break. Saya slowly looked back to Mir. Let's get rid of this, because we've already taken care of that part. Mir's life is coming to an end. As if it were about to break. There we go. That's what we wanted. Making him stumble. You're joking, right? Making his stumble? No, making him stumble. That's what we want. There we go. You're joking, right? She's just having growing pains or something, right? Yvonne asked. But Saya's sad eyes and constant stare made the small hope Yvonne held on to disappear, collapsing to the ground. No. It can't be. She's still so young, Yvonne said, as he fought back his tears. Fighting back his tears. I wish that were the case, Yvonne. but the symbol on her back is the sign of her life ending. That can't be. It's only been a few years since I found her. Her life can't be ending already, Yvonne said in desperation as he tried to find the strength to stand. Saya offered her snout to help him to his feet. Vram Algbo Van. Okay, so this right here, I'm actually using I believe it's a D&D translator for the Draconic language. I had my own Draconic language that I had done, but I wasn't able to, I never was able to, fully develop it. I mean, I have it probably maybe a third of the way done, but it's just, it's not complete enough to make it viable. So after a while, I did find a Draconic language translator, I believe of some kind. So that's the language I am using. Right here in the parentheses that I am using, this is just for my own purpose. So that way I can be able to leave notes somewhere when I post it that this is the translation for it. This will not be in the actual, the actual posting of the story. Vram Algbo. Vram Algbo, Ivan. When you found Mir, she lay dormant in her egg. When you found Mir. Why is it telling me? When you find Mir, she has laid dormant. No. We don't want to do that. We'll just dismiss it. Because we don't want to do that. It sounds like we're doing like Russian or something like, when you find Mir, she lay dormant in egg. No. That's not what we're doing here. When you found Mir, she had lain. Okay. I think that's how you spell it. When you found Mir, she had lain dormant in her egg for hundreds of years. Afrin used the last of her life force to bring her into this world and set a spell that would ensure her survival until someone found her and re-established the pact that Afrin made with Freud. When considering how old she is, you must include those years. She is, in fact, over 600 years old. Yvonne looked over to Mir. She cried out with another wave of pain. We dragons live for a very long time. Some have even called us immortal. In truth, we only have a very long lifespan. I am almost 450 years old. But that, too, will change someday. When we dragons are nearing the end of our lives, that symbol begins to appear when we dragons are nearing the end of our natural lives. Okay. So, I'm going to have to confess here, I actually borrowed this idea from the anime Dragonaut. I believe it's towards the end of that series, but I borrowed the idea from Dragonaut. And pardon, I need water. I do have a side story that maybe one day I will write. It was kind of in collaboration. I don't know if any of you have ever heard of a website called Gaia Online. Back in my teenage days, I was part of that, and there was a role play that I was a part of that actually helped me to solidify some backstory for a lot of dragons that I have in mind that I try to weave in throughout some of my stories. But that is a tale for another time. Okay. That symbol appears when we dragons are nearing the end of our natural lives. For some of us, it appears intermittently. Why? It appears intermittently while we live for another 20 years. I'm going to dismiss that one for now. If any of you on here have a suggestion for that, or if any of you on YouTube who are watching this later have a suggestion, leave it in the comments below. For some of us, it appears intermittently while we live for 20 years. Or while we continue living. Let's try that. For some of us, it appears intermittently while we continue living for another 20 years. Appearing more frequently as we near death. Okay. Excuse me. Hold on. Need to... Okay. For some of us, it appears intermittently while we live for another 20 years, appearing more frequently as we near death. For others, like Mir, it shows itself when we are very close to death. Showing itself more and more frequently and causing ever increasing pain until the end. But what about the pact? But what about the pact that we made? What about the pact we made? Shouldn't that keep her alive until our since our lives are intertwined? Yvonne asked. Saya shook her head, the breeze playing with her fur. For that, you would need a ritual of far more power than what you and Mir have. You would be like the Empress and Shinsu. Their lives are connected, and they may both live for hundreds of years by combining their life forces. Hundreds of years as it combines their life. Okay. Oops. Okay. Their lives are connected, and they may live for hundreds of years as it combines their life forces. Your pact with Mir is more An agreement that you will work together, attuning your mana to work in tandem. Is more akin. Okay. So your pact with Mir is akin to an agreement that you will work together, attuning your mana to work in tandem. Then why doesn't Shinsu have a human form? Helen asked. I do. It is by choice that I do not use it, Shinsu said as he and the Empress descended from the skies. All dragons can take on human form once they have formed a pact of any kind with a human. But when we dragons are in said form, our powers are a tiny fraction of our true form. Only my strength remains in my human form, not my ability to sense others. Mir retains her ability. Mir retains her ability to sense those around her in human form, but her other powers are limited. Her strength seems to remain, though. Yvonne. Yvonne huffed, showing the because his arm is bruised right now, so I need to, not intense. Dark. Bruise around his bicep. Making Shinsu chuckle. Her strength as a human she may not command the same strength as in her draconic form, but she is still many times stronger than any human in this lesser than any person in her human form. Okay. Helen went to Yvonne with a healing spell as... Okay. Helen went to Yvonne with a healing spell as Ito and Kumo walked out of the small hut where Mir was being kept. Is there any way to extend her life? Yvonne asked with desperation flooding his eyes. Ito and Kumo turned to each other with questioning looks. Absence of speaking made Yvonne ask the question again with more force or desperation. Ito jumped back, nodding his head in a nervous motion with wide eyes.
It's dangerous to get the items,
Kumo said. I don't care. I'm not going to let Mir die, Yvonne growled. Kumo nodded and thought for a minute about what was needed. Thought for a minute. We'll just do that. That seems a little better. Yvonne?
The only way you're going to save her is by using the binding ritual Shinsu and Cygnus had to go through,
Kumo said. Cygnus looked up to Yvonne and touched his shoulder. Yvonne, are you sure? It is a harrowing process for both you and her. Do you want to risk her life giving out before it's complete? Yvonne gritted his teeth and smacked the Empress's hand away. Forgive me, Empress. But you would be just as desperate if you were in my position. Forgive me, Empress, but you would be just as desperate if you were in my position. Kumo. Oops. What do I need? Kumo walked to his hut, the sounds of things shuffling and bottles clinking coming from it.
You will need a dragon stone, a dragon spirit essence, a baggin of dragon fruit, and an elixir of life.
I will provide you with the essence, Kumo. Saya said, at which Yvonne bowed to her in thankfulness. Oops. What? That was okay. So I guess it was updating after I put the comma in there. I need water! Okay, let's do this.
You must retrieve the dragon stone from the Cave of Life. Some glow red and yellow, which are hard to find. Those are solidified dragon's life force. The dragon fruit can only be found in Mysteria. See someone named Alwyn, who's found a way to cultivate them in his own private garden. I will talk to Grendel and Chief Tatamo for an elixir, Kumo called as he searched through shelves for any other minor ingredients. Yvonne nodded, running into the hut to grab his wand, but set it back down as he looked over at Mir while she panted in rest, readying for the next wave of pain. No, we'll get rid of that. She panted. It made him wonder if using his power would drain Mir of her own mana. Of her mana. Right now, he wanted to do everything possible to extend her life. However little it might be. However slight it might be. He stroked her cheek, waking her as her golden eyes looked tired and already so lifeless. Okay, so I'm going to leave that because I just want that to stay in there. I'm sorry, Master, for causing you so much trouble. I should have told you as soon as it appeared.
Don't worry about it. Just rest. You'll be fine, I promise, Yvonne whispered. Mir nodded as Yvonne pulled the covers up to her shoulders and left the house, storming toward the docks. Yvonne, what will you do if you can... If you can't? What will you do if you can't take your wand or use your powers? Helen asked as she walked with him. I'll make do. I can't use my power because it might drain Mir's mana, and in turn, drain her life even further. Okay, so actually, we're actually going to do that instead. Oh, okay. I like that suggestion. Okay. Can't use my power because it might further drain Mir's mana and her life. Okay, cool. Helen shook her head and fell in step with him as Oz appeared beside them in an explosion of flames. Then we're coming too. I don't think we'll have any problems. Not with Oz the Blaze Wizard and Helen the Guardian Mage of Osiria. Okay, actually what we want to do is we want to do this. Not with Oz the Blaze Wizard, Helen the Guardian Mage of Osiria, and Yvonne the Dragon Mage. Matt, Lillian, Jenny, and Jack are taking the apprentices to do some of those Beyond the Clouds canon. Are taking the apprentices to some of those. The others are busy. Okay, let's see. The others are busy with the Beyond the Clouds cannons. And Olsen and Ozzy will be going to Victoria for recon. Okay. Are going. Okay. We're going to Victoria for recon. Like it or not, you're stuck with us, Oz said happily. Yeah, I'll just leave it in there. Yvonne nodded his thanks, untying a skiff. Okay. And guiding it away from the dock into the sky. Pointed to the Minar Forest to retrieve a dragon stone. The hard part would be finding a way to get to Mysteria, since it was a few miles north of Edelstein at the moment. Okay. I think it might be a good idea. Think we should see the King's Sage once we have the Dragon Stone and see if he knows anyone who may have dragon fruit in their possession. Possession? Possession? Okay, I see what's going on there. And okay, there we go. to get to Mysteria plagued him as the island nation was near Edelstein. Almost a 3-day trip using this boat. Ron was sure they didn't have that kind of time. Oops. And the 4-hour journey to the Cave of Life was already burning precious time. Kind of time. Okay, I'm going to leave that in there. I think we should see the King's Sage once we have the Dragonstone. Okay. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that will take. Yvonne was sure they didn't have that kind of time, and the 4-hour journey to the Cave of Life was already burning precious time. I think we should see the King's Sage once we have the Dragonstone, and see if he knows anyone who may have dragon fruit in their possession, Helen suggested. Oz and Yvonne agreed with her thinking. Agreed with her as they climbed the skies and headed for Minar. Hang on just a bit longer, Mir. I'll be back as soon as I can. No, as soon as I can. This is a thought. We'll leave that there alone. Yvonne thought, gripping the helm tighter. Okay. Tried hard to push the thoughts of his and Jenny's breakup. Okay. Into the back of his mind. Concentrating on the mission. Go to Victoria and gather intelligence on the Sharenian ruins. Reports of strange happenings in or around them. Began popping up, especially about Eleanor to surface. Top surface. No, to surface. Just straight to surface. Especially about Eleanor. And that peculiar man dragon. Okay, so we'll get rid of this. But it was hard as the wind played with his hair. While on the tickets. Standing at the railing of the tickets ship. His only recourse was to concentrate on the mission. Okay, hopefully that works. Go to Victoria and gather intelligence on the Sharenian ruins. Reports of strange happenings in or around them began to surface, especially about Eleanor and that peculiar man dragon. Ozzy came up from below deck and spotted and quickly approached him. Tell me something, Master. What do you think of Lady Syl? I've heard the stories about the bad blood between her and your father. Come on. Okay. Dark Lord Jin. I just wanted to know. Okay, so I can get rid of this because it's just basically restating a question. And that's just bleh. Olsen set his elbow on the railing, looking back at the stairs down into the holds, just as Syl walked, came up to the deck. To tell the truth, I don't know what to think of her. My biological mother divorced my dad in the world where I was born before I had a chance to even know her. Before I had a chance to get to know her. Beyond that, the only other female presence in my life was Athena. If my father does marry Syl, it'll be a slow process, since I've never known what a mother is truly like. Sorry, I know you probably just wanted a simple explanation. Olsen said, as he cocked his head to the side. Ozzy shook his head. No, it's fine. It's understandable. At first, she wanted to kill him. Lady Syl wanted to kill him, and now she can hardly stand to be away from him. You're lucky, though. The only parent I ever had was my master Geras. From what I found out later, my parents were killed soon after I was born by a desperate beggar. Silence hung over them until Syl walked up to the helm and asked Joel what the approximate travel time. The approximate travel time remaining. Travel time remaining. Okay, there we go. Okay. Okay. Oh, I reckon there's about 3 or 4 hours before we see Victoria. Do you think there would be any negative repercussions if Olsen and I were to spar below deck? She asked. Joel shrugged and shook his head. There ain't much room down there. So long as you lot don't go punching a hole in this here hull, or break a support beam, we should be all right. Syl bowed slightly and called to Olsen as she descended the stairs. Called to Olsen. Okay, that should be better. Olsen, I know that what's going? Olsen, I know that you and your friends displayed some very powerful, some very fearful abilities at our first meeting. Olsen smirked and chuckled. Let's get rid of this. You trying to say you were impressed or something? Olsen asked with a sly attitude, turning his eyes up to her as he leaned against the railing. Because he's still over at the railing of the deck right now. I need some water. And crossed his legs. In a roundabout way, yes. But I wish to see what your skills are like against mine. Even if you do have the pink quartz at your disposal. Even if you have the pink quartz at your disposal. Lead the way, Syl, Olsen said confidently, as the two of them descended into the darkness. Darkness below deck. Oh, as they descended into the darkness below deck. All right. Okay, I don't remember saying Eckhart was going to join them. Okay, so we'll have to include that here. He, Ozzy, Eckhart, and Lady Sill were to... Okay. There we go. That's a little better. Because Eckhart just kind of pops out of nowhere, and it's like, no. Oh, man. Yesterday I did some demo work, and my shoulders are still a little sore. Swinging around probably a good 10 or 12 pound sledgehammer. Might have even been 15, because that sucker was heavy. Eckhart could feel the tension in the air as they walked down, and quickly reached for his mask, making himself scarce. After their eyes had adjusted to the dim light, Syl turned around with a dramatic throw of her arm and announced the rules of their sparring session. Okay. The first one who manages to get a blade to one of our necks is the winner, Syl announced. Olsen nodded as he drew his betrayal dagger, lowering his stance with the blade aimed outward. Syl drew her dagger and katara, swinging them around her fingers before stopping them with reverse stance. Olsen closed his eyes, a wind curling around his dagger arm while wings appeared on his heels, listening to the silence and going far beyond it to hear Syl's breathing and heartbeat. Syl had barely begun disappearing when Olsen vanished in a blur of mana. Syl did the same, listening and waiting for her moment to strike. If Olsen had done what she thought he did, she could hear his breathing, since he could listen for his breathing. If Olsen had done what Syl anticipated, she could listen for his breathing. harder she listened, the more of a headache she got, straining against the silence. She swung her dagger, deflecting a shuriken that flew in from behind her. Ducking into a hiding spot. Felkiar, welcome, welcome. I hope you're at least doing well. At least, I hope it's you. Because just by going on over here to seeing who's in the chat, I hope you're doing... Hope that's you. Hope you're doing well. Having a good morning, evening thing, whatever. Okay, cool. It is you. What do you think of the new setup? Hopefully it's a little more appealing on the eyes, so to speak. I'm doing pretty good myself. A little sore from work yesterday, but other than that, I'm doing pretty good. Cool. Yeah, I constantly got to try to evolve because, all the platforms are kind of moving along faster than really is, shall we say, keep up withable. Eventually, I'll figure out a way how to do, get my little avatar here to do a little more emotions and stuff. Once I figure out how to calibrate and whatnot. I mean, I do kind of know how, but I've actually I have to do it and make sure that I understand it a little bit better. But hopefully, things will get better. Hopefully. Yeah. And it seems like kind of the way I'm just trying to bridge the gap, I guess, because if it's almost like unless you're doing bombastic content all the time, you're doing some kind of VTube content. So I'm trying to, I don't know, straddle the divide, I guess. Gotta be somehow entertaining, right? Ducking into a hiding spot. Underestimated his ability. But then again, he probably underestimated her. Okay, we'll do this. Olsen sat as still as he could, trying his best to make his breath as quiet and shallow as he could stand, listening for any trace of Syl. He tried listening harder, but there wasn't even a small padding of her feet on the floor. He thought he sensed her on his right. Hurling a volley of shuriken in. He thought he sensed her on his right, hurling a volley of shuriken. As he suspected, Syl began trying to deflect the stars, each one sparking off her dagger and katara, giving him the overnoise he needed to surge from his hiding spot and gain a footing behind her. Just as he was about to put his dagger to her neck, her presence appeared behind him, making him drop his invisibility and ricochet away from her on a seal made of violet light. Dart away. Ooh, okay, I like that a little better. So Felkiar, I'm pretty sure it was you. How's your art trade, story trade thing going? Hopefully it's either complete or still going well. Just as he was about to right himself, something sounding like chain link shot out and began wrapping around him. Oh, cool. All right. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. All right. So what if I were to do this? Does that look a little better? Yeah, that looks a little better. Okay, so that way we can see everything everybody has said, and it still looks like when somebody types something, it looks like I'm still looking over at it. Okay. As the chains tightened, they were yanked back. They hauled him to Syl as she dropped her invisibility and held the dagger to his throat. We'll just make some new messages from here out. All right. As the chains tightened, they hauled him to Syl as she dropped her invisibility and held her dagger to his throat. Sorry, Olsen. You lose this round. Okay. So, sorry, Olsen. You've lost this round, she smirked. But Olsen smiled in return as his image faded, revealing a log that melted away into a cloud of melted away as a cloud of mana. Okay, so this ability right here is one from old Maplestory. I believe it was called Decoy, in which you could use it. I don't remember if it was a passive ability or it was an active ability, but it was kind of like a dummy target to where you could like set it up in the middle of like a monster map, and all the monsters would attack that while you were sitting off to the side just pummeling away behind them. And I believe the archers also had a skill like that, where I think they called it the target dummy, where you brought up this little straw target dummy that all the monsters would attack while you're just over there in the background just shooting arrows at them. Syl smirked as she shook her head. He's Jin's son. She thought, oh, it's a thought. She thought. Readying. I know how to spell. She thought, readying for another attack. Olsen appeared in the same stance as he had. Olsen appeared in the same stance he had begun with. Still. So, readied. Another stance, waiting for her moment to attack. As if on cue, the two of them shot forward, each of their blades slamming together with sparks. Slamming together. Okay. Olsen's stab. Okay. So I can probably get rid of all of that. In a blurred dance. The winds, they stirred up, blew the dust aside, until they stopped with one blade held to each other's neck, breathing hard. I started blue. Okay. Okay.
My, you're a fast one. Given another second, I think I might have lost my head.
Syl laughed, twirling the dagger around her finger before shoving it back into its holster. No, you would have had me. My counterattack was sloppy, and I would have injured you. At best. Olsen replied, tapping the blade of his dagger against her shoulder before pulling it away and holstering it.
Still, that was only using your mana. I could only imagine what you were like when using your crystal power.
Syl commented as she sheathed her katana, turning to walk back up to the deck. Complimented. Though I will say that your strikes were less than accurate. Is something on your mind? Olsen huffed, cracking his neck and rolling his shoulders. Jenny and I broke off our relationship. It's been on my mind. because only Athena knows at this point right now. Okay. Yesterday. Okay. He confessed. Syl. Came and put a hand on his shoulder. Are you certain that you are in the right state of mind for this mission? Syl asked. Okay, in the right mind with this? Syl asked. Olsen shrugged off her hand. And paste the hold. Are you confident? Okay. If I am honest, I don't know. I only know that I don't want to think about it. I only know I am needed. That my pain can wait. Syl stopped his pacing and embraced him, holding his head to her shoulder. Don't push away your pain or run from it. It will fester in your soul if you let it remain there for too long. Okay. Okay, come on, give me this. She soothed, holding him away from her and patting his shoulder. Before walking up to the deck. For a moment, Olsen felt a wave of grief roll through him. gather himself and join her on the deck. Okay. It wasn't long before Joel brought the ship. Before Joel piloted the ship to hover above the ground near the desert area of Parion. Here, this is a pick-me-up button. I'm going to dock the ship at the station. So when y'all are ready to go, just press that there button and I'll be ready to pick you lot up. I'll be by to pick you lot up, he called. Tossing Eckhart. Yaller. When yaller. Yaller. There's a new word for you. Yaller. Itchy shoulder. Okay, so we're going to ignore that. We're going to ignore that. He called, tossing Eckhart a small machine with a large red button on it. Eckhart. Oh. Eckhart. Okay, cool. Okay. All right. All right. Eckhart nodded back to him as Joel took off. I brought these radios with me. When you talk, keep it low and brief. We don't want anything going wrong. We don't want anything going wrong, Ozzy said, handing out a receiver with a small choker-like band and an earbud. Which, these are actually a thing. I've seen them before. They kind of like fit snugly around your neck, and they kind of like pick up your vibrations. So that way you just like click this little button, and you can talk like really, really soft, but they'll still pick it up. So that way you can actually like communicate with one another. It's really cool stuff. Though I haven't seen them in a while, so maybe it's just because maybe radio tech may have gotten a little better in the last few years. So maybe kind of have like, I guess like a dirt bike helmet with like a full face thing that has a mic in it. So all you have to do is maybe press a button somewhere else so that way it cues the mic. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. Good thinking, Syl said as they all donned them and began jumping, running, and flitting their way into Parion, where they would start their search. Okie dokie. We've still got a few minutes left. Okay, so is this a dream? Yes, it is. Okay. So we want to do that. Corinne found herself aboard the Nautilus, walking down the corridor toward the helm room, where Murhat was at the wheel. Her sister Sholinch on was on the radar and weapons, and the communications expert Bane was listening to the radio. "Bane, status," Kurian called, sitting in her captain's chair and typing in a command on the computer screen next to her chair in front of the helm. "Nothing to report, Captain. All channels are dead. All channels dead." Kurian nodded. "Sis, what's your ears say?" Sholincha tapped her headphones and then slid one side off her head. "So far, the radar hasn't picked up anything yet. No torpedoes fired." "Steady as she goes, Muirhat." Normally, the next thing she would have heard was a prompt Jamaican-accented "Aye, mun." But this time, he didn't say anything. Okay. Usually, the next thing she would have heard was his prompt Jamaican-accented "Aye, mun." But this time, he didn't say anything and turned back to see if he was paying attention. "Muirhat?" But when she turned around, she found him slumped against the wheel, barely able to hold himself up. Quickly, Kurian and Sholinch went to him. "Muirhat, what's wrong?" Weakly, he looked up at Kurian. And then Sholinch before wheezing a plea. "Help me." Kurian woke with a start, sitting bolt upright in a cold sweat. Mark felt her move and sleepily sat up, rubbing her arm and kissing her shoulder. What's wrong, hon?" he asked as Kurian looked back at him, steadying her breathing and then looking at the clock on her dresser. Oops. Right. Sitting her breathing, and then the clock on the dresser. Sitting her breathing, and then looking at the clock on her dresser. Kurian and Mark had been taking the night shift on the northern wall as of late. And staring at the clock on her dresser. Kurian and Mark had been taking the night shift on the northern wall lately, so they would often sleep Come on, give me this. Okay. So they often slept until 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Just a bad dream. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to get back to sleep, though. Mark nodded, kissing her on the cheek a couple times. Kissing her on the cheek and then falling back asleep. Corinne sat in her bed for a while, thinking about her strange dream before getting up and getting dressed. Okay, it was just a bad dream. Okay, there we go. When she walked out of her quarters on the Nautilus, however, Sholinch was just passing by and ran into her. "Sholinch, what's the matter?" Corinne asked, catching her before she fell back. "Just come with me," she said, taking Corinne's hand and leading her to the helm room. She burst through the door, but no one was there. The only sounds came from the computers in the dash and the occasional shift of the wooden boards that made up the floor as the Nautilus gently swayed. "Was there someone in here?" Corinne asked, not really sure what Sholinch was trying to show her. I just had the weirdest dream about Muirhat, Shalinch panted. Corinne's eyebrows shot up momentarily, curious about the coincidental dream. Really? Oh, that's strange. From what I understand, the last anyone saw of him was when the Nautilus stalled and as you were escaping. Okay. Hold on. I need to get my proper music going again on my side. Okay, come on. I need to do this. And then we're going to go here for now. Because we only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to pick a couple of just songs that I have in my writing music playlist. Okay, really? Well, that's strange. I understand the last anyone saw of him was when the Nautilus stalled as you escaped. Yes, I know, but this was different. It was as if he were sending out a distress signal. Corinne finished. Shalinch looked at Corinne with questioning eyes. You had a dream about him too? Corinne nodded, but she tried to make it seem as though it were just a freak occurrence. There is a chance that it could be him trying to send us a message, but dreams can be funny that way. Let's give it another day before talking to Grendel about it, Corinne suggested. Shalinch nodded and walked back to her room where she had been looking through old photos before the old photos. The thought of that dream bothered her enough to go check the helm room. To check the helm room. Okay. Corinne sighed as she went through the corridors again, coming to the map room on the middle deck, remembering the first day she had met Muirhat. Okay, so I think So tell me, Mr. It's Muirhat, mum. Pleased to meet ya, he said in an accent that she had never heard. But would later find that in the other world where Jack was born, she had never heard. Okay, so we're just going to do that because we've already established that it's Jamaican, but I don't think we need to establish where she learned it was Jamaican. It'd be a pleasure to meet you. Right. Why should I let you be my helmsman? Oops, missing. Because I can guide this ship through the deepest of waters. I even hear things that no other person can. I have no doubt in my mind that I can take you places that you have only been able to dream of. Okay, ignore. Wait. Ignore. Ignore. Okay, accept this. Ignore that. Dismiss that. Ignore. Ignore. Oh, I'm missing the word here. Okay, ignore this. Dismiss that, okay. But your eyes are wrapped up. How can you even see? Corinne commented, tapping her head as if touching the bandages wrapped around his face. That is something that I wish to keep a secret. Okay. Okay, so dismiss. Dismiss. Corinne smiled as she remembered. Okay, so we're going to do this because it's a memory. Corinne smiled as she remembered the first day she let him take the helm, guiding them through the treacherous waters of guiding them through the treacherous waters north of Edelstein as though it were his own backyard. Corinne then wandered through the corridors of the Nautilus, remembering different instances with each of her crew members. Finally, she found herself on the engineering deck, where the low hum of the main drive crystal spun just fast enough to keep the main power online. The low hum brought back another memory of her and Muirhat being at sea for more than a year. Or over a year. You wanted to see me, Muirhat? Yes, I see that the William Charles has been pestering you quite a bit. Well, it's nothing I can't handle. Besides, I like the water, but I'd rather be able to keep my legs, she said, patting her toned thigh. Let's see. Kitten said, patting her toned thigh. Is there something... Oh, wait. Is there something else that you wanted to ask? Corinne asked, tilting her head and raising an eyebrow. And dismiss that. And dismiss that. What would you say to you and I making this look as though you were with someone else? Someone else. So that persistent whale would leave you be. Corinne laughed at herself for that one. Okay. It lasted for a bit. It lasted a bit for a ruse, or as a... No. The ruse lasted a bit. But over time, Corinne began to feel that Muirhat wasn't pretending any longer. She felt bad that if they were ever to find him and saw that he was married to another guy, it might cause bad blood to erupt between them.